Okay, guys, welcome back to the Road to Here. And this episode features one of my favorite creators, rather commentators. Come. Casey's here. Casey, say hello and introduce yourself.
Hello. um, I'm Casey, and I'm just a person, but I do like to do things. I make art. I play video games. I am a stay-at-home parent. I like music, and I love talking about philosophy and paranormal stuff and all of the unknowns. Some of my favorite things. I could talk about them for hours.
All the things that we love around here. You were responsible for completely breaking my brain. We'll discuss it later, but
Yeah.
it I've watched that video you recommended about the emergency theory like 3 times. I still don't understand. Like it's
W
crystals.
we'll have to break it down sometime.
Right, but not like new crystal, not like new age crystals, not like,
Right.
but I don't know, man. The scientific shame. Anyway, so you are Casey, you make things. And
I
now you're
am.
here with us to talk about God in my garage. Like,
Yes. And
well,
in my in my old dining room with a comforter up on me.
comforters, Timu Green, or is it's Temu. I learned that in the Super Bowl.
It's both. They changed it.
It's both?
I Yeah, I saw a video where originally it was called Temu, on the commercials, and then they changed it. They're gaslighting everyone.
Why?
I don't know, maybe Temu sounded funny to them and they're like, "Well, we're gonna just change it, so let's make an ad." I don't know.
Do you watch The Mailman?
I don't
He's ghetto as hell. He's from it's this little skinny guy, and he's from a little skinny white dude in Cincinnati, and he's just hood as hell, dude. It's hilarious. And he's a mailman. He's always like his thing is I got yo check and them bills like he's but he does this whole bit about Timu and how the post office. He's like I'm Timu tired, y'all. Come on now, calm down. Why they go to put all 4,700 packages in one bag? But he's entertaining. I enjoy that guy. That one mailman is his name on TikTok.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check them out.
Yeah. All right. So on this show, as you know, we talk about all manner of spiritual and woo and you know all the things, all the philosophical
All the wee
conundrums.
woos.
Yeah, all the big woos, all the little woos.
Mhm.
So give us a rundown of your spiritual upbringing.
Okay. So, I grew up in a very religious Christian household. Um, by the time I was like 5, I already knew about the concepts of heaven and hell and how great heaven was, how horrible hell was, down to the weird details of being burned alive forever and
Hmm,
insects eating your flesh and blah 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 when I was a child. So that
nice.
was great for me, I'm sure.
Yeah, sounds like
Has nothing to do with my current anxiety disorder.
no. No,
um
that wouldn't scare anybody.
no, not at all. But anyway, so then I went to private school. It was a Baptist church that also had a school. And I went there from first grade through ninth grade. So all day, every day, it's, church on Sundays and Wednesdays, um, Bible teachings at school. I'm learning pretty much only about Christianity. Not teaching. I was far too old before I even knew that there were other actual religions. I just thought everyone else was just people who didn't believe in God. Like I can't give you an age,
Right.
but I was too old to not know that there were other belief systems. Um, what else? Um,
So what
yeah,
what
I
uh
mean,
what flavor of Baptist was this? Is there the I don't know
uh,
how it is there. Down here there's like primitive, Southern
um, I don't know, it was just, like, generic Baptist. It
I
wasn't
gotcha.
Southern Baptist because which Southern Baptist, I have a whole whole section of life that happened in too, and
Oh,
that was, I don't wanna say worse, but it was different.
uh,
Uh,
it's different.
anyway, so, I went to public school for the first time when I was in, my sophomore year,
Wow, sophomore
and
year of high school?
yes, it
So
was
ho
and go
I
ahead.
mean, just rabbit trailing here. How was that? Because we had a good friend that, did the same thing, right? He showed
Mhm.
up, like, sophomore year of high school, and, I mean, basically, his whole life, his parents just had him in Christian school because they were trying to, pray the gay away, right? Because
Yeah.
my man was very flamboyant and
Mhm.
was not messed up with it, and, he had a really hard time adjusting. Like, he hated the Christian school, but it was
Mhm.
almost like uh, sensory overload when he got to, you know what I mean? And he could be who
Yes.
he wanted to be, and then he just went nuts, man. Like, I don't know.
Um, it was similar in ways for me. So the school that I went to, the private school, was very, very small to the point where, and it started slowly getting smaller. The reason that we actually initially stopped going was because there were so few students paying tuition that they couldn't keep
Oh
the
man, yeah.
school doors open. It was my freshman class was me and another girl, and the senior class that year was one person. So, it was a very, very small school. I wanna say maybe, like, from preschool all the way up until, like, 12th grade, there was maybe, like, 200 people. So
Okay.
it was very small. Um, but yeah, when I went to public school, it was completely foreign to me, because we were in a private school. I didn't use a locker or anything like that. Like,
Right.
we just there was no like use for, like, safety or security because everybody
Right.
God was watching everyone, and if you stole something, he would know. So so I had to learn how to, like, use a combination lock, and for the first couple of weeks, I just carried around a clear backpack because you had to have if you wanted to carry a backpack around with you, it had to be clear for safety purposes. So I just carried around literally all of my books
So
for, like, 2
what year are we
weeks.
talking? Like early 2000s, mid
Uh,
2000s?
it would have been 2003, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
because I graduated in '06, so
okay. So I was a freshman when I graduated in '01, and I was a freshman when Columbine happened
mhm,
and everything. That's when all that started, right? They were still trying to hammer everything out, like figure out like how the hell do we do this? And they were that you couldn't have backpacks at first, so there was a brief period where everybody was carrying all their books. You know, yeah,
mhm.
it's cool.
That pops me into a whole 'nother thing, though, having gone to private school, and there was some at this point, I'm pretty sure it was, like, misconception that all the people that were killed in Columbine were Christians, and that's why they were
Oh,
killed.
right.
They basically told us as children, like, if somebody came into your school to, you know, take people out, you would have to say that you believed in God or you would go to hell. And so,
Whoa, they said that in school?
yeah, yeah, they told us, and they said that to, like I said, I've talked to other people about this because it kind of just blew my mind that it's
It's
such
blowing
a
my mind.
common thing for them to tell kids that. I would have been that was in what, 2001? Is that right?
Columbine was 99.
99. So
Yeah.
I would have been 10. Um,
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, 99 because I was a
10 or 11,
freshman.
I think. Anyway,
That's wild, man. That never even
yeah,
so
they made us have a we sort of made plans of, like, where we would go if something happened, and it strangely enough, back then, it was, like, kind of the same plan as sheltering in place for a tornado,
oh, yeah.
which I don't know what it is now. I think they lock doors and stuff like that, but, um anyway, they told us that if anyone was in your face with a weapon pointed at you, you you were not to defy God, or not defy, but there was a specific word that they used. But anyway, yeah, that's
Wow. So you're basically being instructed to be a martyr. Like you don't get a choice. Like
yes,
it's
yes. Um and it was like there's so much stuff, um I think, in Christianity with young children that is so fear-based, when you grow up in it. And it's I mean, if you tell a kid that, like, that you have to agree that you're a Christian and then you're going to die for it, that's, like, I don't know,
yeah, I mean
you get.
that's I mean what no I don't see I've always had a problem with and Adam and I talked about this on the last episode.
Mhm.
It's always felt like I mean it's indoctrination, right?
Yes, it is
And
very much
it's
so.
always bothered me, especially in the Southern Baptist, which is the only thing that I really have any experience in. That's the only church culture that I was ever really involved in, and that was as an
Mhm.
adult. And I remember having an issue with wanting the children because I helped out with the children's ministry sometimes, and
Mhm.
it it always bothered me because they don't. I mean, there's no, an 8-year-old kid has no concept. I mean, I have an 8-year-old. He doesn't give a shit about like, what I mean, Fortnite. That
Right. Right.
what Fortnite dance are they doing,
Right.
And, I don't understand why because I'm 41 years old, and I just now feel like I am able to wrap my head around some of these philosophical and esoteric concepts, right? There's no way, I don't care how much you dumb it down, how much you change the delivery, kids are not equipped to make that kind of decision, in
Absolutely
my
not.
opinion.
And we know that, like, scientifically, the human brain, like, being the cognitive ability of a human, isn't like, your brain's not fully done growing until you're like 24 or 25.
Right, right.
And so the idea of pushing these concepts on children, and you know, not only telling them about it, but making them afraid. Like, you've got to,
Yeah,
they've got to know. Like, and while I understand that, like, the people who tell their children this genuinely believe it themselves,
mhm,
and so it's not like they're trying to scare their kids. They're telling them to save them, you know? They don't want they wanna be able to see their loved ones in heaven. And, that kinda takes me, like, I feel like my first time ever questioning religion, and then I didn't for a long time. I remember I was like 5. Um,
mm,
I knew about the concepts of heaven and hell, and my grandfather was in an accident. He used to do, like, construction. He was a carpenter, and he was
right,
working on a roof, and he fell off of the roof and died. And back then, there's no cell phones, and so the
right,
people are calling around trying to figure out where my grandma was, and she was at my house. And when she got the call, everybody started freaking out. But I knew that when people died, they went to heaven. And
right.
so, and heaven was a good place, and they would get to see him again. And so, um, I didn't understand why everyone was so upset. He went to the good place. And I remember being so confused and why our plans were getting canceled. We were going to go to the pool and get ice cream that day. And I
Right.
remember being so utterly confused because this was a good thing for him. He wasn't here anymore. This was better for him. And in my fragile 5-year-old mind, I'm like, I don't understand what's going on here. Like, why are y'all screaming and freaking out? Like, he's in the good place now. He's with Jesus. That's what we all want, right? And so that was my first time ever, like, I think, being like, what's going on here? And then I never really questioned it until probably my teenage years, honestly.
I think if more people approach things with a 5-year-old mindset, I think it's they talk about it in Zen, the beginner mind. I think
Yeah,
we'd be in a lot better place
yeah,
because what you were thinking makes sense.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
We convolute it the older we get and the more stuff that we go through. So so the change was pretty much gradual, I guess, or not change, but
Very,
just yeah.
very, very, very gradual because I was like every so often I would have like very minimal doubts or questions about things rather, not necessarily like doubts. I remember once when I was in like 5th grade, I asked my teacher, I was still at the private school at this point, and I asked my teacher, I had just lost a pet, and I asked her if animals had souls and would we see them again. And she very she was very sure that no, they don't have souls and you will never see them again. And I didn't understand that, and I
Ah,
was a
yeah.
little upset, and I was like,
Right.
they're conscious, like what, where does it say in the Bible that they don't have souls and that only humans have souls? And like, so that was one thing that I sort of questioned it, but I let it go, fairly soon because and this has to do with the very, very gradual change in belief system is I was scared.
Yeah.
I was told you're not supposed to question God. You're not supposed to question his existence. You're just supposed to believe, all the entire basis of it is faith and you're not supposed to question it. You're just supposed to be like this is what it is. It's true. It's the truth. It's the one and only truth. And if you question God, you are at risk of going to the bad place. You're gonna go to
Right.
hell and you're gonna burn and be eaten by maggots and whatever for eternity. So, um, yeah,
The I
that's
don't the insect eating, does it say that? Like, 'cause
I don't know, but I was told that. It's a lot of times. I don't know if it says it. I would have to look it up. And I do actually. I still have my Bibles, like
keep the
those.
Bibles around
Yes,
just,
I do.
for
Just
reference.
right, because I do think that, there are some things in the Bible that are useful. There I mean, like most religions, they all have pretty much the same concepts,
Mhm.
and they can be used similarly. I think, um, if Jesus existed, he was a pretty cool dude that just wanted the best for everybody, but, like I was saying to a friend of mine on TikTok the other day, there's a lot of things that Christians will unfortunately take very literally, and then other things they'll twist to fit their narrative, and you can't have it both ways.
No. No, you can't, and yeah, I had brunch with Rabbi Rami Shapiro
Right.
recently, and we talked a little bit about this, and he told me something that I did not know. Apparently, in Judaism specifically, you are expected to understand that the Bible is not to be taken literally as a child.
Hmm.
Like and as they age, it's more of, it's guidelines, it's essays,
Hmm.
it's the telling of the story. It's not necessarily to be taken literally.
Right.
Because I come from an area where things are very literal and down to, and what they don't know, they just make up.
Right.
Because it clearly doesn't say anything, because the Bible is, in my opinion, an editorial. It is, it's a collection of different stories from different authors from different time periods, blah blah blah. So the idea of taking it literally is fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Like I just don't have that. I don't have that gear in me. I guess I can't go there. You know what I mean? I
Right.
can't. I mean, it's to me and I'm not saying there's not fantastic advice and wisdom, I guess, is the word
Hmm.
I'm looking for, in the Bible and other scriptures. But man, the thought of having to live your life taking it literally is flabbergasting.
Right. And even some of the stories like in the Old Testament, like they they mirror or are very similar to those of other religions or even like mythology. And it's just
Hmm.
like I don't know, like people have been making up stories for thousands and thousands of years, and to assume that everything in the book is truth is a little far-fetched to me. I mean,
I feel like it should be like
right.
that's a natural to. to question that stuff. I interviewed Morgan Lee, and he got me reading Joseph Campbell. Have you read any Campbell?
Mm-mm.
Dude.
Yeah.
He does a lot of comparative mythology and he
Mhm.
talks about he'll connect a lot of the dots. I highly
Mhm.
recommend it. Thou
Nice.
art that and the hero with a thousand faces and stuff, if you're into that kind of thing.
Okay.
So where are you now, spiritually speaking? You don't have to give me a concrete answer or
Um,
any answer for that matter. You can
yeah, I don't have a set place. I'm open-minded to the idea of a lot of different things. I like the idea of like Buddhism, and I
Mhm.
really enjoy the not concepts because they are actually, you know, things that you can practice,
Right.
like being in the moment, and the ideas that, you know, we as humans have set the idea of what's good and bad, but in reality, things just are what they are. I kind of vibe with that sort of thing, and like I feel like I truly want to believe in like an afterlife and a soul and that sort of thing, but I'm a very science based, like my thoughts are very science based
Mhm.
nowadays. But I am very open to the um really whatever. I will listen to anyone of any religion or, any belief system, um and consider it, actually consider it as a valid option. But if it doesn't resonate with me, then I don't think that it's necessarily what's right for me. I don't think everyone has to believe the same thing. It doesn't change what the reality is, if there even is one reality.
Oh
I
boy.
mean,
Here we go.
I'm sorry, it's just the way it is.
No, I agree, and I am to the point where I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't pretend to know, but I really, really jive with the non-dual look on things. Now, the issue that I have is the soul problem, right? Like I want there
Mhm.
to be a soul as well, and I don't know. Yeah, and that's definitely a want of mine. Like I like the
Yes.
idea of being able to get reincarnated, and
Right.
but I have no proof. But on the flip side, nobody has any damn proof, man. Like
Right.
you have a general consensus, but there's there's no proof.
Mhm.
So I think where you are is very similar to where I am, and I enjoy it. It's fun. Like I really
Mhm.
love learning about this shit.
Me
So
too.
I do this show. Like
Yeah.
it's a blast. So do you feel the need to talk to people about how you feel or what you think, or I mean, I know you don't really have a
I mean, if
set.
it comes up, I will, absolutely, but I don't, like, feel the need to, no. Like, I mean, no, everybody's on their own journey, and it's not my place to, if something comes up in conversation naturally, I'll, kind of give my input on it, but I'm not gonna tell someone they should or shouldn't believe something. That's their prerogative. That's their decision.
What is it that makes people want to evangelize on street corners and scream at passersby about God?
I think they're I think they think they're supposed to. That's it's like we were talking about earlier, it's something that's ingrained in these people from the time that they're children, and they think that by spreading the gospel, they're saving people, and that's their job, is to witness to people. And um there are there are people who I feel like take it to an extreme, for sure. But I think that most of them genuinely think they're doing what they're supposed to. They think that they're bringing souls to God, and that's that's good for them. Like, they want that "well done, thou good and faithful servant" when they get
Right.
to heaven. They want that. It's kind of honestly, I believe it could develop to a point of like greed, like I saved this many people, like I brought this many people to God. And I think that they can get it. I mean, it's easy for any human to get um, power lust, essentially.
Right.
And You can even do that, I think, in that kind of setting, like, you know.
Do you know what immediately popped into my head? And you'll
uh,
appreciate this as a fellow video game nerd, I think. I don't know, Dynasty Warriors, where you're
oh
just
yeah,
you're just like riding through, mowing people down, bringing
yeah.
souls to God.
Right.
So that's immediately where I went with that.
I had this thought, like, I'm sorry to get off topic, but
I don't know.
I had this thought the other day that, like, so you know how the stars, what we see of the stars is uh potentially millions, billions, thousands, however many years ago, the light that we see from that,
Right.
right? So an interaction that an individual has with another individual could potentially alter things far, far, far into the future. Let me give you an example. So let's say somebody's having a really crap day and they go to the grocery store, and maybe they had been thinking about, ending their life or something like that, but one interaction with a stranger changes their, you know,
Mhm.
projection where they're going in life. And so then that person goes on to have meet someone, have children, and then that, you know, their one of their great grandchildren does this thing. And I mean, and that's just one example. You could do this many branches with this. But so one interaction that you take with a person today can branch out for generations and generations and potentially like thousands of years. And that's a thought that I had the other day that I was just like, whoa. So in a way, we're kind of like that light. What we're doing now is the light from someone else's interaction, however long ago.
Mhm. What you're discussing is very commonly referred to as interconnectivity and the concept. It's very similar to what I understand the concept of karma in Buddhism to be.
Nice.
And so it's all like everything. We commonly think that karma is the cosmic justice. You know what I mean? What
Right.
goes around comes around. But in reality, it is basically just everything you do, good or bad,
Mhm.
what you just said. It
Yeah.
causes ripples that can go for centuries. So you're onto something based on my
Perfect.
research. You should continue
It
following
it
that path.
literally just popped in my head one day, and I was like, "That is a neat concept." So,
It's
but apparently it's already been thought of thousands of years ago, so
yeah, that I had a similar experience is what drew me into all of this shit. Okay,
yeah.
I had a friend, a close friend, my first love in high school. She died suddenly in her sleep, and for a long time we were all super connected. Like we were friends, friend group. You know what I mean? Like everybody, we
Mhm.
all hung out even past high school for a couple years, all that stuff. Anyway, she died in her sleep. Just I think it was an aneurysm or an embolism or something. And I remember thinking about it, I'm like, damn, and then of course you hit a certain age and you start, okay, you have the midlife crisis, you have the existential questions that start popping
Yeah.
up. But the idea of man, it really is impermanent, which is another Buddhist concept that I've learned
Mhm.
about. And that it's little things like that that'll send you down the rabbit hole. So keep
Mhm.
going. I really because it is that just that one thought that popped into my head driving a trash truck one day really has changed everything for me. Now I'm sitting in my garage talking to an internet friend about
Yeah.
God. So
Yeah.
it's I keep going. Like I think
That
you're
really resonates with me because um I've been married before. I lost my husband in 2013. He was in a car accident,
mm,
and we were only together for like a year and 8 months. And I have this thought, and my therapist is like, why do you think this?" And I'm like, "Because it's true." But it's the idea that had I not taken had this short time that I had with him. And then, so at the time, I was living in Tennessee. I would have
okay,
never moved back here to Ohio,
right.
which was where the rest of my family was. I would have never moved back here. I would have never met my current partner. I would have never had my son had my husband not died. And my therapist is like, that's so morbid. Like, why are you thinking that? And I'm like, because it is what it is. It's the truth. Like this particular route that I've taken in life would have never happened if things didn't happen the way that they
Mhm.
did. And it's not like I'm saying like, well, I'm glad that he died. It's not that
Right.
that at all. It's just it's the awareness and the knowledge that like that, and it's not like that had to happen. There are other routes that I could have gotten here
Mhm.
or where I'm at in life. But whether it's morbid or not, it's the truth. Like I I went through what I went through and took that particular path, and now I'm here. And it's like I don't know, in some other universe or timeline, me and him are still married, and in one of them things are really shitty between us, and in one of them things are really great between us, and in one of them,
Right.
you know, in another one I'm with my partner and we don't have a kid. Like there's the possibilities of existence are infinite of your timelines and your paths, but the one that I'm in now, what happened happened, and that's how I'm here.
Right. And it comes, I think that, yeah, not to lessen grief, but I have found, I feel like grief is a, catalytic emotion. I feel
Mhm.
like you're maybe not, I don't know, because anger is definitely a catalytic emotion.
I feel that though your response to each of those emotions are different. Like
True.
whether one like in the catalyst with anger, you're going to typically respond in one way versus how you would with grief, you know?
Right.
Which sometimes anger and grief can be composed as one, like they're very
I would
close.
imagine.
They can be very close knit depending on the circumstances.
Right.
So,
I mean, I don't have, experience like you do in that respect, but I would
mhm,
totally, that totally makes sense. The
yeah.
two merging together. Do you do you feel like, did your faith play any part in navigating through that situation? I mean,
That kind of honestly, that was kind of the nail in the coffin, so to speak, or the last straw. I for years prior had been kind of questioning um you know, Christianity,
mhm,
and I would say probably around the age of 19 is when I first started like really considering, and I started losing that fear more to question. And I was friends with a coworker, and he was an atheist, and I had asked him several questions, like, how are you not afraid, or how, if there's no afterlife, how do you just live your life? What's the purpose? And he's like, the purpose is being here. Like, that's the point, to do what you can to the fullest while you're here. In the Bible, obviously, you're not supposed to, you're supposed to condemn that behavior. And I was like, these are good people. Like these are some of the best people that I've known. And how can they be, they just love someone that's, the same gender as them. How can that be wrong? And so I started questioning lots of different things more by the time I was like 19, and slowly letting go of that fear. And then I um, met a friend who was Buddhist, and he was much older than me. He was also a coworker of mine, and he started kind of teaching me when I got into this work field and sort of got into the real world and started meeting other people with different
mhm.
beliefs instead of hanging out in a church setting. It was like all these things just sort of started coming together. And yeah, what was the what was the original question?
Did it
Grief.
help
How
you?
did
Did it help you?
um
Dear.
uh I don't know that it necessarily helped, but it didn't hurt. Um I think that I was able to, instead of, so had I been Christian, I feel that I would have just, instead of trying to handle a lot of things myself, I would cast that burden onto
Mhm,
God and be like praying often, and asking God to alleviate the pain surrounding it. But instead, what I did to process my grief was I went out into the woods and I sat and I spent time with myself. and I reflected on the time that he and I had spent together, and um I feel that I processed it in a healthier way than just shrugging it off and then uh throwing all my problems onto God.
It
Um
it had never occurred to me until just now, because you hear that a lot. You hear cat get what was it Matthew? He says, "Give me your weak and weary and or heavy burden, and I'll give you rest." And people use that, and they talk a lot about casting your problems onto God, but it never really occurred to me how utterly unhealthy that is, as far
yeah,
as because it allows you to completely disassociate that
right.
you're and I mean, I've been through a lot of therapy myself. So,
Mhm.
you know, I know for a fact there are things that I've worked through that there's no way in hell that I could if I had just pushed aside and you
Mhm.
can't let it go. I don't think it's possible to just let it go.
Right. Right.
But
And grief isn't something that you anyway, grief isn't something that you really just get over. It's something that you grow with. I
right,
mean, he's been it's been it'll be 11 years since his accident, since my husband's accident, and um I still think about him often, and I still more than anything, like it's not like a I wish I could still be married to you type thing. It's you were 24 years old and you died and you had so much more life,
right.
you know, to live. And it's um, very unfortunate. He was a musician. He was very talented. He was very smart. And um, being the age that I am now, and looking back at how young we were back then, I'm like, damn, there's so much you could have
Right.
lived for. And so it's more of a sadness about like the lost opportunities for him
Mhm.
versus uh being like, you know, I mean, sure, I'd love to have a conversation with him again or something, but it's grief for me has evolved, you know? It used to be, "Oh, no, I'm not gonna have a happy family with you. I'm not gonna do this and that." And now it's just kind of like, I have those things with someone else, but your your life stopped, like, and it sucks, like, I don't know.
I
Sorry, I didn't mean to move
no,
into
no,
that.
like, no, I'm processing. Like, I've never experienced loss to that degree, so, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you and tell you I know how you feel because I don't. Like, I have
You'd
no
be
I mean,
surprised how many people do, and they're like, "I lost my dog when I was 12," or "I lost my grandma," and I'm like, that's a little different. I planned
right.
a I had a future planned with this person, like, and I mean, the only thing that I think would top losing a spouse is losing a child, and I do know a few people who, I mean,
No,
obviously
yeah.
my husband's mom, but, I do know a few people who have lost children, and it's just like I can't. Since I'm a parent, I legitimately cannot fathom going on with your life after losing a kid.
I've, uh, I've witnessed a lot of that. My mom especially, my mom lost a child before me. I mentioned in another episode, I think, but
Mhm.
it's, yeah, I don't see, I know how I am. I would immediately make inappropriate jokes because I mean comedy is a defense mechanism, you know what I
It
mean?
is.
And you you made the video, the TikTok video where you go in and you say happy birthday and it's just a picture of it.
Right.
Dude, I fucking howled. I couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard because
Yeah.
that's exactly what, I make jokes with my wife all the time. Look, if I die, you have to taxidermy and stand me in the corner of the bedroom and I can never face the wall. So like I just want to like in like the Buddy Christ pose from Dogma, you know what I mean? Where he's
Yeah.
shooting the finger
Yeah.
guns and and it's stuff, but I feel like that the comedy is so helpful, at least to me.
Right.
And yeah, I mentioned before, I was a cop for a long time and I saw a lot of death and a lot of
Oops.
the aftermath of, you know what I mean, and dealing with the families, and I've had to make those notifications
Yeah.
and we would joke with each other. Obviously, you're not going to go into a house, sorry your son got killed in a car wreck, but,
Right.
and start cracking jokes and shit, but we
Right.
would definitely the shit that was said, like, there, like, at the on scene and is that's my
Well, I
experience with that. I think that's why I relate so much to it because we all did it. I have
yeah.
eaten a ham sandwich, making jokes about where we're going for dinner, like, standing over a corpse.
Well, I
You know
mean,
what I mean?
because I mean, honestly, I don't feel like if you if people who are in those situations fall, like, directly into them and, like, get emotionally involved, you can do jobs like that. Like,
Well,
people who are
that's why I'm sitting here, and that's why I'm a garbage man because it was really hard for me to detach, and I could not detach
I imagine
all
so.
the time, like, emotionally from that shit. And I mean,
Yeah.
I had a lot of disagreements with the culture and
Mhm.
just the job in general. But that's another
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
But do you feel like does the comedy help? Like, what is your okay? What is your current partner say? Is he
I
Are you
mean,
guys
I've
on the
got
same page with the comedy? Like, I mean, as far as
oh,
the laughing about it
yeah.
stuff, like,
I
because
mean, yes, I think so. I mean, I don't really I used to talk more about, I suppose, more about my trauma and stuff surrounding my grief with him more often than I do now because I'm actually in therapy and
Mhm,
I didn't used to
right,
be. Um, but yeah, I mean, he gets the jokes and he doesn't think that he's very much a laugh at tragedy type of
okay,
person. So I think in that aspect we get along really well because, you can't I feel like you can't go through life if you focus on how bad something is all the time and don't try to kind of make light of it sometimes, like, you're just gonna be a mess, man.
right,
Like, it I because the world is fucked up, like, there's a lot of
yeah.
stuff that's messed up.
We're hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, the shit that we do is I don't know. Everybody has their neuroses and all that, and then I don't think they ever go away. Like, I
Yeah.
still worry about some of the dumb shit I worried about pre-therapy, and I feel like that has totally changed my life, but
Mhm.
there's still some of it there. Yeah, so gallows humor, good. Always being sad, bad. That's what we've established, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. At least we got that out of the way.
Right.
So, last question before we get weird.
Okay.
Why do you think people gravitate toward religion? Because taken at face value, I've said before, it's all pretty fucking wackadoodle, right? Like if you just
Yeah.
read the story, it's all pretty bonkers. Why,
This is the
we advance daily, and I sent you a video of the freaking robot like
yeah.
thinking,
Mhm.
deductive reasoning or whatever,
Mhm.
a cognitive thought, and we can advance to the point where we can engineer something like that, but we still base a lot of our lives over 2,000-year-old stories.
So short answer, because they're scared.
Mm. So it's a control
Um,
thing.
well, kind of. People are scared, and they, for generations and generations, have been taught this since they were children, and so they think that it's true. And with the combination of being scared, like, that's why it goes on. It's a generational religion in itself is a generational curse, I feel like, to a degree. I mean, it's something I think that a lot of organized religions it needs to be broken, but at the same time, it causes people to feel comfort. They have the same questions that you and I do. Like, what's it? They want an answer for an afterlife. They want an answer for why we dream, why we think the things we do. You know,
Right. Well, how do we break it? Like, do you think it will ever be
I don't
broken?
know. I don't know. Honestly, and I've done a lot of thought about it, especially with the conflicts that are going on in the world right now.
Mhm.
Like, how can we come to an agreement that just, like, people don't deserve to die for this or for made up books, or that there's no need for violence toward people because of your beliefs. Like, I don't know. I wish I could come up with an answer, but I think that if there was an answer, um it would have already been
Mm,
done.
that's a good point. But I'm gonna need you to get on that, okay?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, we need
Chop
solutions.
chop.
Yeah, make this shit happen. Well, since we can't solve the world's problems, let's uh let's get weird, man. Let's
Okay.
get weird. I got okay. You and I mentioned this. You broke my damn brain with the conversation we had on TikTok about timelines and
Yes.
about reality and dimensions, and you sent me the emergence theory for lay people, and I consider
Mhm.
myself pretty lay of a person, and I still, man, and
Still
S-
mind blown.
right. So, do you feel like is reality an objective thing? Like, does reality exist, and or is it subjective to each person?
Oh,
How did it's easy.
it's
How does the
definitely
universe work for you?
subjective. It's definitely subjective. My perception isn't the same as yours.
Right. But does
Like,
that change the fact that so there is no reality, is what you're saying? It's not a concrete
well,
thing that's happening, or is it?
mm, I don't know. I mean, like your reality is different than mine, but at the same time, um, there's how can we prove, like that anything that I'm experiencing or you're experiencing is like so with the idea of like we say like this cap is orange, right? But
Right.
you know it's orange because you've been taught that this shade is orange. But how do you
Right.
know this orange is what I see as orange? You could see things differently than I could. You only know this color by its name. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be the same color.
I
Like you
gotcha.
could see it different. So that whole idea could apply to anything. Like, I mean, how do we know? Like, and how,
I mean, we
quite
don't.
honestly, right. And we don't know, quite honestly, that reality or what we call reality is even what the majority of us seem to experience. Like, because we experience things in a third dimensional point of view. Even on Earth, like other mammals experience time differently than we do. If you've never looked up, there's a video on YouTube that talks about how different animals perceive time and how they hear and see. um, Dogs perceive time at a faster rate than humans. A lot of animals who have evolved from predators, they perceive things at a faster rate, so they could, um, like, or it's slowed down for them. Reality is we're time is faster for us than it is for like dogs. So essentially, like if a wolf in the past were hunting a rabbit, things are slowed down. Its brain processes things much faster. So when a person talks to a dog, they sound like they're talking in slow motion. It's crazy. You'll have to look it up. It's very
Yeah,
interesting.
that I got a feeling it's gonna hurt when I do. So, I'm
It's weird stuff,
I mean, it
but
makes
it's
sense. It's it's an adaptation, that allows for easier hunting. I mean, I'm assuming
right.
it would probably work the same way with, hawks or eagles or,
Yeah.
birds of prey that
Mhm.
have to zoom in from miles away.
Mhm. But yeah,
Okay.
perception is reality. One's perception is their reality, and perception varies from person to person, from species to species. So there in with that information in mind, there can't be one set real or like truth. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right.
it might I don't know. Cuz which one would you call real? Cuz they're all different.
That would have to be agreed upon collectively.
Right. It like what's the base reality?
Right.
Like
Oh, I'm sorry I asked that.
no, don't apologize.
No, I'm sorry for me, not you.
Oh.
No, I'm gonna go down the fucking rabbit hole for 3 days probably.
Yeah.
Okay, to make things
It's
even more
good though. You'll
complicated.
get closer to the answers you're looking for.
Yeah, that's what's been happening
Or
so far.
or go crazy.
Yeah, yeah. All right, to make things even more complicated,
Okay.
what is consciousness and why do we have a seemingly unique take on it? I feel like it doesn't, I mean, maybe, I don't know. I've never been a dog, but are dogs sitting around contemplating the nature of their reality with their friends?
Well, we know that dogs do things like dream, um, and stuff like that. But so far as like what consciousness is, I'm not entirely certain. I've done a lot of like just casual looking into this. Some people theorize that it's basically an evolutionary trait. So understanding that you are you helps further humanity by and survival by understanding that you are just a individual person. It helped people find mates or survive things. And then there's other people who say that consciousness is like a big part of a massive uh like what's the word I'm looking for? Big part they're all little parts of a big thing in the universe. I don't know. I feel like
Mhm.
it's somewhere in between maybe. Yeah, I don't know. That's one of the big questions that is very difficult for me to come up with an answer for because um I've looked at a lot of things like there's a website that's got out of body experiences and near death experiences and stuff like that. And that would have to tie into like consciousness and um I don't know. I don't know if it's just some defense mechanism, something in the way that the brain works, or if it is something magical, mystical. Like we are a part of something bigger. And that's one of those things that it's like Ha there's no way to know.
See, I just don't feel like the magical and the mystical and the scientific are that far off. Uh, Science does explain the nuts and bolts and the how and a lot of the, it theorizes on a lot of the why.
Right,
But I mean, regardless of how disciplined you are of a scientist or how, disciplined you are of a spiritual seeker, the answers are not there to
right,
certain questions. There are certain questions that we are incapable of answering, and we and we wax poetic, trying to I read in one of Rabbi Rami's books, "F the ineffable." It's I never understood the sharp divide that people place because
right.
yeah, I get it. Science does explain things, and science explains a lot, and biology explains a lot, and but none of it really tackles why. And that to me doesn't disprove science. That to me just relates science and spirituality in that they're two arms of the same thing, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. I
No,
don't know
I
if
agree. It's like, I don't know, I think the further that we learn technology or about, like, scientifically, the more we realize, like, "Oh, well, that thing," you know, like, especially with,
right.
like, the or the, fabric of space and all that stuff, it's like, it's
Right.
something you can't see. You can't
Mhm.
see it. But
Right.
it's there. You can't see the particles that we're made up of, but they're there. And a long time ago, nobody would have even had the possibility of discovering any of this. But now we know that it's a thing, and so there are things that are happening that we cannot physically perceive. So it's not entirely far fetched to think that you know the weird stuff, the weird, you know, the woo woo stuff is
But
somehow scientific.
right. And it's huh. I just kind of disproved myself in my own head. I don't know.
Let me hear
Well, I
it.
mean, I guess it's I mean, you could say that it's, the all the woo stuff that I enjoy talking about is just simply stuff that science hasn't explained yet,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And if that's the case, is it really woo? It just we don't
No.
understand it.
Right. Well, that's the hard thing with stuff like this is because so the idea of a soul or something like that, like we give names to things, right? And it
Right.
might not the names that the associations rather that we have with names may not be accurate like in the past. Like we've used terms for so long just like
Mhm.
a lot of these ideas go back thousands of years. It's not the idea of a soul is not a new thing. So it's like a lot of the stuff we might just have the wrong associations with them, and only a portion of what we think about it might be right, or none of it's right. Like
Right.
a name is a name. It doesn't do anything but give it a label.
Huh. Ugh. Yeah,
gonna
it's
need a gonna need a nap after this one,
yeah,
huh?
right, or a beer or something. I need to do something, like, dumb. I'm gonna go outside and, like, punch a tree or something.
Right.
Just to assert dominance, back in the so, alright, let's just go there, let's go for it. Do aliens exist? Are they
I
actually
think
from other planets?
I have a couple of separate theories on this. So first of all, I think that it would be quite closed-minded to believe that in the multitude of universes that exist, that we are the only intelligent life.
Agreed.
Um, Secondly, um, if there is or has been any interaction with alien life on our particular planet, I don't necessarily think that they are um, aliens from another planet. I'm more inclined to believe that they're actually us from the future,
Mhm.
like time travelers. I think that in the future we do find the ability to, and we're not that far off, to time travel.
No.
Um,
No, we're
so,
not.
um, and even if they're not like us, they could be um, like shit, like AI or robots
Right.
that we send back.
That
Um,
shit I'm sorry, man, that shit is terrifying. Like, I mean, it's interesting and fascinating.
it is a little spooky.
It is. It
It
is.
is.
And I'm sure that's just like a lizard brain, knee jerk reaction of I don't know what that is, so I want to run away from it. Like it
Right.
might eat me. You know what I mean? I have no
Mhm.
no concept of what they're actually going to do because I mean I think the cat's out of the bag. I think that and as Aesop Rock says, that's a powerful cat.
Yeah.
And it's I'm excited and I hope I'm alive to see where it
Yeah.
goes. Like I hope it
Yeah.
goes fast. I think it will. Everything else has. You know what I mean? Look at the past 50 years, the changes that it made.
Yeah, we're actually like I feel like for the last feel like so far as technology goes, we're kind of at a standstill except for with AI.
Right.
Um but I remember watching a video a while back about um a guy who had worked in the military and he had been interviewed. I don't remember what YouTube channel it was on, but he was interviewed by someone, and basically he was asked if you could tell us about what the military technology is like that they're using, and he's like, I can't tell you specifically, but I can tell you that everything that the military has access to is about 50 years advanced to what consumers are
That
exposed to.
tracks. Yeah.
So if if AI at this point is so advanced to what you and I are seeing, think about what they're using in military or government institutions, and it is insane. Like,
Are you familiar with the Monroe Institute?
I don't think so.
Okay. The Monroe Institute is in Virginia.
Uh,
It is an active research facility, air quotes.
yeah.
Um, the in the 60s or 70s, the CIA researched remote viewing.
Yes, I know about that.
Okay, have you seen the report? There's an official CIA report that was
Um,
declassified.
a long time ago, yeah,
Okay,
where they took
essentially,
yeah, they took the places and told them to draw pictures of it and stuff, right?
right?
Is
Yeah,
that what you're talking about?
essentially, the CIA just was like, "Yeah, this is a thing. We don't understand how it works, but this this could be
Right.
useful, right?
Yes.
And that research was done at the Monroe Institute in Virginia, and you can go there. Like you could go
Okay.
take classes on how to do the remote viewing and stuff like that. And I feel like if they ever can combine AI and
Mhm.
that, we're all doomed.
Ooh, I saw a thing, where they hooked up some nodes to a dude's brain while he was thinking of what an image looked like, and AI was able to very shittily recreate it.
Ugh, it's on. I'm telling you, man. Like that would be my guess as to what the military is doing now with AI. They have
Right.
probably tried to combine some kind of remote viewing. Look it up though. It's called the Monroe Institute. I want to
I
go so
will.
bad, but
That
it's like
sounds
two
cool.
grand. There's no way I'm going to go, but
Oh, no.
it would be so much fun to go nerd out
Yeah,
and learn how to, literally like the men that stare at goats. That's what's happening out there.
it's crazy.
All right, one last question. One last weird question. What happens after we die? Well,
I
after
don't know.
biological death, what
There's
okay,
a
what do
couple of
you
options.
what
What do I want?
yeah, what do you want to happen? What
Um,
do you have a feeling one way or another? Because I mean all this is feelings. I mean you when you believe something, you don't know it.
I feel like we just like, based on my research and what I know, I feel like we just leave our bodies and we're kind of like invisible and we just float around until we decide to not be around anymore. I mean, I know that sounds silly, but
No.
like I've read a lot of near death experiences and people report like going out of their body and seeing things that they should
Mhm.
not have been able to see. And yeah, I think that if we have a soul or a consciousness, it kind of just hangs out. And I don't know if reincarnation is a thing, but um it's a possibility that I definitely consider. I like the idea of reincarnation. I think that it's
Same.
cool. I think that especially like the concept. I don't know if you ever watched the X-Files, but
Yeah. Of
there's
course.
an episode of the X-Files where they essentially they see themselves in different lives and they were different people. So like in one lifetime, Mulder and Scully were like a mother and a son, or different
Mhm.
types of relationships to one another. And I think that that's cool that we hold on to the relationships of people that we meet, and they're just different people in our lives each time. So
Yeah,
um
that
I
there's a
like that idea.
there's a book that I would also recommend. I've recommended it before, and it's total like new age woo woo ridiculousness, but
Yeah.
I love it. It's called Journey of Souls,
Hmm.
and it's just that. It's all transcripts from a hypnotherapist, and he
Cool.
yeah, it's fun.
I think that it would be neat to do a past life regression, but I don't know how much of it I would make up myself, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, so it has use. Do you guys use in your therapy? Do you use Erickson hypnosis?
uh-uh.
We do.
Okay.
And that is, and basically, he was a psychotherapist in the 50s, and he uh, can essentially it's a guided meditation. Like they induce you into a meditative or trance state, and then we use it in PTSD to create a construct so that I can recall.
Great.
No, it's good. You used to read that book though, man. It's called Journey of Souls. If you're
Okay.
into that.
Yeah.
Well, man, this has been an adventure. I'm
Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
my editing hand is gonna have to be strong here with all the
Oh my god.
uh, technological. I can't even talk, bro. I give up. Anyway, so at this time, plug what you plug. What do you do? What do you want people to know about you? Where can they find those things that you would like
Uh,
them to know?
I am probably most active on TikTok, at Human Being Casey. I also have an art page on there, called Casey Makes Art is my handle. And then I've also recently started trying to go live on Twitch with the same handle, Human Being Casey. That's where most of my stuff is at. So, um, I guess that's probably about it.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah,
man. Well, thanks a lot for being here. It's been fun.
I
I uh,
agree.
I enjoyed the
Thanks for
conversation.
having me.
Well, guys, that is it for this episode of The Road to Here. We hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know what she thinks. Maybe. Yeah.
I did. It was
Okay.
nice. I
Good.
hope
Good.
you enjoy it.
Okay. Well, then we both hope you enjoy it. So, anyway, thanks for listening, watching, whatever it is you're doing. And I hope you do it again. We'll see you next time.